Hi, this is Joel Persinger. I'm the Gun Guy. Thank you very much for watching my videos. I really do deeply appreciate it. This is one of a series of videos I'm going to do as I transform my rifle for you so you can see the various options we have in the state of California if we want to keep our AR-15s and not have to register them. Now, I've already talked about registration and why I don't think you should do it in a previous video. I'll put the link in the description so you can watch that video and then I don't have to go over it here. I'm not going to register my rifle. I'm going to make it featureless. However, if I wanted to keep my features, my pistol grip and my collapsible stock and my flash hider, there are some different options I could use, one of which is the DFM magazine from Franklin Armory. Now, just so you know, I've used a number of products from Franklin Armory in the past. I've always found them to be very innovative. They come up with some really cool stuff, and all of their stuff that I've seen so far is very well made. This is no different. I do have some issues with this, and I see some positives with it, and I'm going to share both of those with you in this video so that you know what they are. But let me show you how it works for the moment. First of all, if I hold back the bolt, you can see, maybe you can see through there the little orange follower, that's the magazine, so you can also see that the gun is clear. In order to remove the magazine, I cannot remove it with the bolt, with the mag release and pull it out of the bottom. It won't do it. If I push on the mag release, and yes, it does have a standard mag release here, and I pull on the mag release, it will not come out because it is a fixed magazine. It won't come out of the bottom of the mag well. In order to remove the magazine, I have to, well, I'll let my bolt go forward, and I've got to pull the pin. Let's pull the back pin and rotate the upper forward, and now you can see the magazine there. It still won't fly out, and it still won't come out of the bottom. The only way for me to remove it is to partially disassemble the action by pulling that pin, rotating my upper forward, and then push the mag release and slide the magazine out of the top of the mag well. In California, that essentially renders this a fixed magazine rifle. Now, let me warn you now, if you do this, don't close the gun up with the magazine out of it, because the minute you close this action, you now have an unlawful and unregistered assault weapon in the state of California. So if you happen to be at the range and you pull the mag out to load it, as long as you leave the rifle apart, you're fine. Just make sure that the rifle goes back together with the magazine in it. So load it up, put it back in it, close it up. Don't close the rifle without the magazine in it, because then it is an unregistered and unlawful assault weapon, and if you got Mr. Zealous police officer hanging around, then you could get yourself arrested for that. Now, you can take out the magazine to load it, which is easier, or if you want to, you can leave the magazine in the action and just top it off while it's in the action if you're at the range. That's a little bit more of a nuisance because the upper tends to want to get in the way if it's flopping around, but if you hold it right and let the upper drop all the way forward, you should be able to do it without any problem. I did it quite a few times, and I didn't have any trouble with it. When I took it out on the range, I found that the magazine works perfectly. The rifle functioned flawlessly. I didn't have any jams or any issues that I had to clear. It was actually a joy to shoot. Now, was it a joy to load? No, but that's the nature of the beast. But as a quality product, I can tell you it is made very, very well. Now, there's some other things I want to make you aware of. One is, if you were to use this solution, once this magazine is removed, the rifle will now accept standard magazines. So, no, I'm not going to put one in there because I'm in the state of California. But the beauty of that for me is I go to Arizona, I go out to Nevada, I have friends in both of those places. I take courses out at Front Sight and other places. And I want to have a functional rifle when I go take those courses. So for me, it's a positive that when I take this magazine out after I've left the state of California, the rifle will then function as normal, with one exception, with normal mags. I just have to make sure that when I come back in the state of California, that I've left any magazines over 10 rounds outside the state, because that's where they are. I've given them to some friends of mine in Arizona and Nevada, so I don't have them here. And I put the 10-rounder back in, and it's in the action, with the action closed up and in the case in the trunk or wherever I've got it. But one way or the other, it's now a fixed magazine rifle before I come back into the state of California, because otherwise, if I blow it and I put a regular mag in there, or I close the rifle up with that magazine not in the gun, I now have an assault weapon under California law. Yes, I know this is ridiculous, but it is what it is, and that's why I'm explaining it to you. Make sure you don't close the action up without the mag in it. And it will take normal mags once that mag is gone. I see that as a positive for me. because I travel, and when I'm in other states where the rifle is totally legal, I can do whatever I want with it. I want to make sure I can put regular mags in it, and I'm not walking around with a neutered rifle. Now, here's the only piece that I lose, and that is my bolt hold open. You'll notice the bolt is open now. If I close it, the magazine is in it, and if I try to make the bolt, stay open, it won't. And the reason for that is that in order for the mag to be installed in the gun from the top, a change has to be made to the bolt catch. That is the original bolt catch that came out of the gun. And you can see on the left here, let me see if I can get a punch to show you. On the left here, you can see that little part right there. That is the little part that catches, that is pushed up by the follower in the magazine when the follower rises all the way to the top, and that's what causes the bolt catch to hold the bolt open after you fire the last shot in the rifle. Now, in the replacement bolt catch, which is this one, you see that that isn't there. If I can hold it just right, you see that that's gone, so that isn't there. And the reason for that is it had to be filed off because the only way that you could place the magazine in the receiver from the top of the receiver is if that was missing. If that's in the way, then the magazine won't go there because that's in the way. So that had to be removed in order for this magazine to feed in through the top of the receiver rather than through the bottom. Now, I've got this all ready to go. I put on some blue tape just to cover up my lower so I didn't mar up my lower when I was doing this. And then I've also just driven the little roll pin out with a punch. Now, I didn't pull the punch out because if I do that, the punch is all that's holding my bolt catch in there, and there is a little spring and a detent behind that, and I don't want to launch it out of there. I don't think it would come shooting out of there, but if it falls on the floor of my shop, it's anybody's guess where it's going to go. So instead of doing that, I'm going to just put my finger on it, just to kind of hold it there as I wiggle the punch out. It doesn't take a lot of pressure to hold it there, but I want to wiggle the punch out of there, and once the punch is out of there, then I know that if I let this off very gently and easily, it'll come right out of there, and I will not have lost my little spring and detent, which are right there. So now I can take the replacement that does not have the little edge on it, but has a little edge machined off as I showed you, and I can place it right back in here, and then drive the roll pin back in, and that gets my replacement bolt catch in there. But you lose the ability to have the magazine after you fire the last round hold that bolt open for you. You can hold it open manually. I just did by just pushing on the bolt catch, but it won't do it automatically. Now that bugs me a little bit, but you know, a lot of AKs don't do that either, and there's other rifles that don't do that, so it's just a training issue to get around it. But I wanted to make sure that you were aware of it before you chose this option. On the magazine itself, if I can get it out there where you can see it, and I'll get my little punch again. You can see there's a little lip right there, or a little sticking out thing right there, and there's one on the other side too. So you can see there's two of them, one on each side. It's right there. Those little lips on the other side are what catch the receiver when the magazine is dropped in from the top, so that the magazine will not fall all the way through and come out the bottom of the receiver. So once it's all put together, this magazine will only come out if you separate the top, the upper from the lower, at least by pulling the rear pin and tilting everything forward in order to remove this. And that's what makes it, we hope anyway, legal in the state of California. We're still waiting for DOJ to issue its regulations and have those regulations approved. They've submitted them. Now we're just waiting for them to be approved. But if they do follow the regs that they've submitted so far, then this would appear to make the rifle California compliant. Now, I wanted to give you positives and negatives here, so let me give you a couple of negatives I see with it. One is the magazine is proprietary, so if you wanted to use this as your tactical solution to pull the mag through the top and have another mag and drop it in there, you could do that. I would say it would be pretty darn slow, and there's probably faster alternatives. But if you wanted to do it, you could, but you have to buy this proprietary magazine in order to do it. And they, you know, you can only get them from one source, and when that's the case, sometimes those things can be a little pricey. So you might want to investigate that first. Here's the other issue. I don't know how to clear a double feed when you have a magazine that you can't grip and rip. because that's how you would do it if you have a double feed. You got one round that's in the chamber or partially in the chamber, another one stacked up behind it or underneath it. And now in order to clear it, the only way I've ever learned to do it is to grip and rip. I don't know what everybody calls that, but that's what it was called when I was taught. You press the magazine release, grip that mag, rip it out, and then rack, however many times to get those messed up rounds out of there, and then put your magazine back in and rack it again, and you're off and run it. How you do that when you have a magazine you can't remove from underneath, I don't know. It seems to me I've done it before, back many years ago before the bullet button was figured out, when rifles in California, AR-15s, were sold with fixed magazines that could not be removed. And I remember having students have an issue with double feeds on the range. But it always scared me to death and seemed extremely dangerous the way we had to clear them. Because you got one round stacked up behind another one with the nose of that round generally on top or close to the primer of the round in front of it. And so there's an opportunity to launch a round or set one off in some fashion. No bueno. That's one issue that I've got with it that does concern me about a safety issue. Now, if you ask me, am I going to use this product? The answer is yes, but for a different reason than you might imagine. I've been through several seminars, and in those seminars, every one of the attorneys has said, this is the bugaboo right here, flash hider, because the average street cop has no idea what the difference is between a flash hider and a muzzle brake or a compensator. They all look the same. They're all flash hiders as far as they're concerned. And so some cop is going to pop somebody who has a muzzle brake or a compensator and arrest them for having an assault weapon because it's got a flash hider on it, even though they've got a straight stock or they have a Thorsden stock or something like that. And so I'm concerned about that. I want to make sure that when I'm transporting my rifle or using my rifle in California, I'm transporting it at least with a fixed magazine. So even when I've got this thing completely decked out as a featureless rifle, it'll have a straight stock and a grip wrap and a muzzle brake. If some cop says, that's a flash hider, I say, well, no, officer, it's really not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Well, I'm not going to win that battle. I'll say, well, officer, it's not, but even if it was, it doesn't matter because the rifle has a fixed magazine. You can check it if you like, officer, and he can push that mag release and jerk on that DFM magazine until the cows come home. He's not going to get it out of there. And even if he does, he's going to crush and destroy the mag in the process, which proves that the rifle is safe as California says it is, and legal as California says it is, and then I'm not going to lose my rifle and get arrested. Now you might say, well, I'll fight that battle. I get it. But then you might fight the battle and you could win, and you're going to spend a fortune getting your $2,000 rifle back if you ever get it back at all. So I don't want to fight that battle at that point. I'd rather fight it politically. I'd rather fight it through my YouTube channel to get people involved and so on. But that's up to you. Am I going to use the product? Yes. Is it a quality product? Yes. Is it a solution to the problem? No. That would be changing the laws so we can have our Second Amendment restored. Is it an option? Yeah, and I think it's a viable one. You just have to decide whether it's the one for you. Anyway, thank you very much for watching my channel. I really do appreciate it. If you want to know more about the DFM mag, just go down into the description. There's a link to Franklin Armory there, and you can check it out on their website and shop around. Have a great week. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to join the NRA. Check out Second Call Defense. And please, please, please subscribe. That's why we've got that button up there. We're trying to build the channel, and we can't do it without your help. Have a great week. Be safe.